I spoke a short time ago with the New South Wales opposition leader, Chris Minns. I began by asking him about his election policy and particularly on the education front, this tutoring commitment, given it's essentially replicating what the government's approach is.
Well, they've obviously got an intensive tutoring program just for the next 12 months. Halfway through next year, the program stops altogether. But, Kieran, over the last 2 years, we've seen more disruption for school kids right across New South Wales than at any point since the Second World War. So we think that tutoring system should be in place for longer. We'll make it permanent, particularly for numeracy and literacy, and we'll make sure that that's fully funded.
And when this additional funding is considered as well, you're talking about increasing the state component, essentially meeting the Gonski quantity of funding. Where is that coming from?
Well, obviously, any policy that we release between now and election day will be fully costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. We anticipate by getting us 2 years earlier to 75% funding from the New South Wales government, it will cost around $400 million over the forward estimates. That'll be fully funded, and obviously the way we will approach our budget will be released to the people of New South Wales before election day. But we just don't think that we can compromise on this. It's an investment in the future of New South Wales, and with test scores sliding and teachers, not enough teachers being in the system, we need massive action. We need drastic action.
I think a lot of the parents watching today, and grandparents for that matter, would recognise that mobile phones are often a big problem in classrooms. Would you consider putting a statewide ban on the use of mobile phones in classes?
Absolutely. We need a statewide ban on mobile phones in New South Wales classrooms. That is a policy we're taking to the next state election. We think it's crucial right across high schools in this state. We've seen Victoria, South Australia and Queensland all introduce similar bans, and I don't want to see New South Wales kids go behind. I know a lot of adults that find it difficult to concentrate when they have to deal with social media and games and text messages. I'm not quite sure how we believe students and adolescents can have the self-discipline to focus on the job at hand. Kieran, I don't think they can.
Would that include private schools as well, or is it just state schools you're talking about?
Only state schools. Obviously, that's the jurisdiction that we're responsible for in New South Wales. But I wouldn't be surprised if all New South Wales government schools have a mobile phone ban in place to see a lot of independent and Catholic schools follow suit. Just as I don't want to see New South Wales kids fall behind other jurisdictions in Australia, I'm sure the independent sector would feel the same way. I mean, look, our kids are guinea pigs. A lot of these programs and games and social media are designed to keep them on longer. And the schools that have banned them, for example, Davidson High School, have seen a massive change in behaviour, particularly at recess and lunchtime, with kids interacting with each other and communicating for the first time, rather than being on their devices 24/7.
On a related matter, I guess it's a private school, but the ABC reporting that Opus Dei backed or affiliated private schools in New South Wales have caused a, quote, psychological damage, that many former students say they've left those schools with psychological damage. Have you got any concerns yourself around these Opus Dei schools, which the Premier himself did attend one of those?
Yeah, Kieran, I mean, obviously that report hasn't aired yet. I haven't had an opportunity to review the program or any of the testimony that people have made to the ABC. So I think probably the best thing to do is wait for that program to air before we make comments about it. And I'm sure I'll do that and be asked about it tomorrow.
All right. Well, on the poker machine issue, it's been a massive part of this campaign, or we haven't got the official campaign underway, but the lead up to the election in New South Wales. Your cashless gaming trial for 500 poker machines, that's less than 1% of the amount of poker machines, 90,000 pokies across New South Wales. What do you say to criticism that it's simply too weak, your policy?
Well, I mean, it is the trial. We need to make sure there's an independent trial in place for the panel to review an evidence-based approach here. We want to make sure that whatever reforms we pursue, in fact, work. Now, our program and the trial will kick off in July 2023. In order for me to have that scaled up and operational as quickly as possible, I've needed to keep it at 500 machines. We've looked at Tasmania that has 2,500 machines and is moving to cashless in that state. It's taking them 2 years to do it. So I don't want to wait forever and ever to have enough machines as part of this trial to get an evidence base in place so we can make a decision about reform. And that's the reason we've chosen 500 machines across New South Wales.
The Premier has promised cashless gaming cards is his policy. Andrew Wilkie, the federal MP and anti-pokey campaigner, has said that if you don't support that, your party, your government, if you were elected, would be morally bankrupt. What do you say to that assessment?
Yeah, Kieran, it's just hyperbole from an independent politician. I mean, there is no policy for us to sign up to. It's been 14 weeks since the New South Wales Crime Commission released their report. Everybody's waiting for an actual policy from Dominic Perrottet to be released. There's literally no policy in place for us to offer bipartisan support for, and we've released a comprehensive plan that is evidence-backed, is fully supported by the New South Wales Shadow Cabinet and involves an independent trial. I think that's the right way of approaching what's a complicated issue. We take the issue of problem gambling serious, but we don't want to make reforms that in the end make the problem worse, not better, and that's why we've gone down this trial route. Now, we want to make sure that that's rigorous and has 500 machines where that trial can be rolled out. We want to make sure that the independent panel's got the evidence base in order to offer a recommendation to a future state Labor government if we're elected.
So, Chris Minns, you're not spooked then by the pubs and clubs lobby? That's not why you're taking this approach?
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, we've got a comprehensive plan. We've said that there's going to be no more political donations from clubs to political parties. We're introducing third-party exclusions in New South Wales, banning advertising out the front of pubs and clubs, and introducing a responsible gaming officer for major venues across the state. Now, not everything in that package the pubs and club sector will like, but we think it's important to tackle it with an evidence-based approach.
Now, on a couple of other matters to wrap up, Bob Ninver, the General Secretary of New South Wales Labor, going to be pre-selected to run in the upper house off the back of Carl Asfor being, well, he's not going to run due to his expenditure issues around the Bankstown Council. The party rules suggest that the General Secretary should be in the role for 5 years before running for Parliament. How come you've changed that to allow the party apparatchik to run this time?
Well, look, obviously it's not an ideal situation, Kieran. We didn't expect to have a vacancy just 50-odd days before polling day, but I needed to make a decision to get some certainty for our upper house ticket. Bob's got respect across the party. He's got a reputation for financial management and responsibility, and I thought he'd be a really strong candidate. He served in that role from 2019 to 2023, which is not the 5 years, but it was necessary to make sure that we asked for an exemption with those rules so we can get him in place. Now, not all party members will be thrilled about that, but most people want us to have a strong team to take to the next election, and I believe that's what we've done with the inclusion of Bob Ninver on the Labor Party upper house ticket.
He hasn't even run the campaign yet, and you've parachuted him in. Will that raise a few eyebrows within your party?
But Bob's got a reputation for a couple of things that he did very, very well. Firstly, there was a very difficult ICAC inquiry into the administration of Labor. Bob picked up the pieces after that and re-established financial rigour around the party's processes. He's also been the campaign director for the federal election in New South Wales, which was obviously successful. He's my campaign director for the state election. Look, if Bob had his way, he'd stay in post. I've asked him to do this and he's agreed, and I think it's the best interest of the New South Wales Labor Party. So we've got a good team to show the voters and put to the people of New South Wales in March.
Now, finally, Jim Chalmers has written a lengthy essay for The Monthly, talking really in a headline about values-based capitalism. Is that not contradictory to what we saw with the Hawke-Keating legacy of really liberalising an over-regulated economy? Isn't that going in a different direction to what your party heroes did a few decades ago?
Oh, look, to be honest with you, Kieran, I haven't had an opportunity to read the essay because we're in the midst of an election campaign. But the fact that Jim's looking at and understanding the market, a modern market, and making sure that people have got opportunities to thrive and survive and grow in a growing economy is a good thing. I think that you want Federal Treasurer looking at these issues and making sure that people have got access to that marketplace, whether it's with skills, whether it's young people starting businesses or reviewing competition policy so that we've got new entrants and we've got a dynamic economy. I'm sure that's what Jim's getting at, and I'm looking forward to reading the essay.
Opposition Leader Chris Minns, appreciate your time, a busy period for you. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Kieran.